Have you ever asked yourself, how does your psychologist deal with mental health problems? Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's depression, maybe it's something else. If you've ever wondered that, today I'm going to talk to you not about how every psychologist deals with it, but I'll talk to you about how this psychologist deals with it. Starting in about November of 2025, I had a big upsurge in feeling depressed. So if that interests you about how I dealt with that and how I'm dealing with it now, hang out. And as a good friend of mine says, Kit Wallace, we're going to try to make the uncomfortable comfortable. I'm Dr. Brinen. I'm a psychologist. I'm a co-creator of recovery-oriented cognitive therapy. I also wrote the book Living Well with Psychosis. On this channel, I like to support families, individuals, providers trying to serve individuals getting back to the life that they want. At the same time, for probably, 4-5 more years, on and off, I've dealt with episodes that I can only refer to as depression. I didn't always think of them as that, but one time my wife came downstairs and said, listen, you don't have to go to therapy, you don't have to go out and take a run, but I'm just going to ask that you don't sit on the couch in the dark. I don't think that's a good idea. And you know what? She was right. So what I want to do today is walk you guys through my most recent episode, how I dealt with it, how I'm still dealing with it, just to give you an idea of how I approach these things. Thanks for listening. In November, about mid-November, I took a trip to Chicago for a conference. And on the way back, I got stuck. It was one of those really bad storms. I got stuck in an airport, and when I returned home, I found for some reason my depression was a lot higher, and it wasn't going away, right? I was feeling unmotivated, down. I was noticing that I was even a little tearful, which is not usual for me when I feel really depressed. So here are the steps that I took. First thing, I wrote out what was going on for me. I did what I refer to as a chain analysis to figure out when did it start, what was going on, and more importantly, trying to come up with a plan. I was going to implement that plan and then see, did it help me out? So the first thing that I did was accept that this thing I was feeling as depression, which was making me anxious that I was about to have a big episode, it actually just might be that I was tired. I had slept, I'd had a layover in the Atlanta airport. I slept on the floor for about 2 hours. Then I went into one of the lounges and I had something to eat, warmed up a little bit, and then slept in the lounge for a little while and then took my flight home. And so when I first started feeling down and really exhausted and depressed, I thought this might just be that I'm tired, right? Because I'm not young anymore, so sleeping on the floor of an airport like that, not good for me, right? That's not in my skill set as much anymore, or at least that's what all my friends in my life keep telling me. After taking about 3-4 days to make sure I got up on my sleep, my eating, and just get back into my normal rhythm, I found that I still wasn't bouncing back. I still wasn't feeling better. And actually I was finding that I was feeling worse. I was slowing down. I was struggling a little bit more. So at that point, I pulled out this handy little friend that I've had for a number of years. And what I'll do oftentimes is I'll write out in it to try and make sense of what are the things that are making me feel worse. So that way I have a list to sort of organize. I always find for me and for the individuals I serve that my brain, it sucks in trying to figure out what's going on. All I'm doing is juggling things in my head over and over and over again, and I really don't have any clue where one thing begins and another ends. And so what I find is whenever I can write these things out in nice, clear ways, it helps me to break apart what are the factors that are driving how I'm feeling at the time. And so I identified, right? 1, I could still just be tired. 2, I noticed that I had a huge amount of frustration. I was really asking myself, like, what am I accomplishing? What am I doing? Right? When I see people out there pushing therapies and treatments and approaches that are not based in science, aren't that helpful, and it really feels like it's pushing people away. So I realized I was really questioning, like, what am I doing? And was feeling really, really small in comparison to this huge thing that's an important part of my life. I also recognized that some really upsetting things that have happened sort of over the years, that they were continuing to stick in my mind, right? And in fact, they were taking up more and more headspace. And, we're all in the hustle and bustle of our normal days. And so I realized, I wasn't noticing that those things, they really were bothering me. They were really, they were on my mind a lot more than I thought, and they really still, and they were hurting. But I wasn't paying attention because I was just moving so fast, because it was November, December, they're very busy seasons for me. And then the final piece that I recognized was I felt like I wasn't moving forward in the things that I wanted to do, right? So I've got a new book coming out that we're working on, and I felt like I wasn't making progress there. I felt like I wasn't doing as much on YouTube because I really want to sort of build this to help people and help people move forward. I felt like I wasn't doing enough in my practice to move forward. And so all of these things, I was feeling like I wasn't making motion forward, and that was really frustrating me. And I really was starting to get down. So one of the things that writing it out for me did was it helped me see it wasn't one thing. It was multiple factors that were all kind of combining together to create this this mechanism, this big mountain that I was experiencing as depression. And then as a result, when I'm feeling down, I'm less likely to do other things that help me feel better, right? And so I'm not connecting with people as much. I'm not exercising as much. I have an extra cup of coffee in the morning instead of going out for a walk or a run. I'm isolating a little bit more, right? So I'm on my phone and I'm looking at social media more and just sort of doom scrolling. And so I recognize that has an impact on the things I do, which oftentimes then impacts sort of the way I'm taking care of my body. And so then my body starts getting worse, which makes me feel lower and makes it harder for me to do those things that help me stay well. And it creates this sort of downward spiral that happens. So that was sort of my first attempt in sort of figuring out what's going on for you right now, Aaron. And so the next step I do is I go, okay, based off of all these things, what can I do to start moving in this direction toward wellness instead of that direction? And so I sit down and I really plot out in the book, what are my go-tos? One of the things over the years I've found is I have got a nice little routine, almost like if you've ever had a car that stalls or the battery dies, you have sort of like your routine, right? You take out your charger, you do that, and you sort of jump the car. And in previous videos, I've actually talked about, like, I've got my jumper cables for when I'm feeling down and my motivation is lower, right? And so I sat down and I wrote out what it was. I really scheduled those things in. So I told people I get up early, I do core, I have coffee and watch a couple things. I feed Bonnie, who loves to cuddle with me whenever I feed her. Then I go out for a run, whether I want to or whether I don't. I listen to music. So I have this series that sort of jump starts me, and I recognize I need to do it as early as possible. I also keep track of the fact that I don't want to sleep in later. I don't want to turn my alarm off when those things are happening, because that's just going to perpetuate the slowing myself down. So I implemented those. I worked on those for a little while, and I found that about almost exactly a month later, I actually wasn't feeling better. I was actually feeling worse. And so I again went back to the book. And I wrote out again exactly what were the factors that were driving my feelings so down. And I got even more specific about each of those factors. and really thinking about what was going through my mind about these upsets that I've experienced. What about it was bothering me so much? And really, what were the feelings that I was having in connection to it? I think one of the mistakes people make all the time is that CBT doesn't really, in CBT, we don't think about feelings and we don't think about love and we don't think about those things. But I recognize that those are really important in line with kind of what's going through my mind. Not in an attempt to get into this sort of like wrestling match with my thoughts, but just to know what's there, observe it, and see when it's coming out. And I really look at, like, is it helping me to move forward? So at that point, I instituted a couple more skills. I used the list, which I've kind of talked about on this channel before. I really made sure that I followed through on those jumper cable things, because I did it maybe 2 days in a week and then I would fall out of it. And so I really got even higher on scheduling it and using those jumper cables. And it helped a little bit. Not so much. Anybody who's a follower can see that essentially from November through maybe January, mid-January, I wasn't posting a lot of long form videos. So I really was struggling on that front. On the book front, I was making progress forward. We're still on schedule, but I just felt like I wasn't doing everything that I wanted to be doing in relation to the book. And so I continued to sort of implement that schedule. And then I prepared because I was going on a trip to go visit my mom. And so I also started preparing for that connection. I really focused in on a couple things. Increasing my connections, because my brain was telling me, nobody wants to talk to you, don't connect. And so I made sure I was connecting. And so I also made sure it was really specific. If I took 2 or 3 drives and I didn't call somebody and I just decided I was going to listen to that podcast I'd really been wanting to listen to, I noticed, okay, it's time for me to make sure I reach out to somebody. One of my brothers, my mom, some of my colleagues, some of my friends, to connect in that way. I also decided to, add a little bit of something different in my life. A lot of my reading has to do with the work I do, so I haven't been reading as much. And so I decided to sort of crack my brain in a different direction. And I started reading a little bit more philosophy. A guy named Ryan Holiday has written 4 books on Stoic philosophy. And I thought that's just sort of a part of my brain I've never really used. And so I started doing that. So connecting with people, added something that I hadn't been doing for a while, which was reading. As well as learning. I also made sure that I got back to mindfulness. And so over my journey, I have had a practice of mindfulness and I've had a time when I'm not practicing mindfulness. And during those times, a lot of times when I'm not feeling well, I recognize, oh, this is a time the mindfulness practice really helps. And so I made sure that I just added mindfulness in and I scheduled it. And so along with my physical health, I also attended to my mental health, as well as trying to sort of lift up those things that make me feel better. As to the productivity, I set really small things that I knew I could accomplish, right? So I finished 1 chapter. I got it off to my co-author. I made a little video. I made sure I did some new shorts, little things that helped me sort of see the progress moving forward. The final thing I made sure I did was I reached out to my network. I talked to my co-author about the fact that I'd been feeling really depressed. I talked to many of my really good friends and just let them know I'm feeling really depressed. And I talked to my wife and let her know that I was really feeling depressed. And everybody was really supportive and wonderful about it. Nobody really judged me or told me what I needed to do. They expressed a lot of love, which I really appreciate. I'll tell you now, after the visit to my mom, for whatever reason, it really seemed to sort of break the fever a little bit. There's definitely times where I'm finding that I might look on an afternoon and I've watched a lot more YouTube than I would, and so I'm a little bit more on top of it. So I am feeling better now. I also recognize that For me, depression feels a little bit like if you've ever had a bad knee and you step on that bad, you might be able to walk on the leg really fine, and then one day you just step on the knee and it won't support you. That's a little bit the way that it feels for me. It's like, oh, okay, well, today's going to be like this, and then I kind of step on that knee and it's not there, the depression's there. So it's sort of up and down. I appreciate Kit, who encouraged me to make this video. I hope it was helpful. For people who I supervise, for people I serve, I'll tell you that during this whole time, my favorite part and the thing that brought me the most joy and light was serving individuals, as well as helping supervise people and do trainings and those things. It really is something that brings me so much meaning. I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope this was helpful or interesting. If you want to hear more about recovery and getting back to the life that you want, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment. And I'm excited that I feel like I'm back on track. I'm making more content to get out there and serve everybody. And I hope everybody is doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Be well.